now set it off in the Middle East. No justice, no peace, take it to the streets. Modern day MOK, turn the right cheek. They want to oppress with violence, they protest. We get no rest and come with peaceful protest. No justice, no peace, take it to the streets. Modern day MOK, turn the right cheek. They want to oppress with violence, they protest. We get no rest and come with peaceful protest.
Dogs up and felt the fireman's hose. I heard screams and moans cried across the globe. And the constant struggle still will not swing blows. Waiting for sweet chariot to come swing low. I'm with the million men marching. My party is fair.
Yes.
So what we've done is we've mobilized and organized throughout Westchester County. I've had meetings in Peekskill, as you see, Brother Steve Dillard from Peekskill and his other brother in attendance. We've had meetings in Yonkers and New Rochelle. We meet bi-weekly in Mount Vernon, and now this is our first meeting in White Plains. So we have secured 5 buses. Other communities are working to secure buses as well. So we secured 5 buses, 4 for Mount Vernon and 1 for White Plains. And we're working to secure additional buses. So we're asking in each community that someone step forward and be the bus captain or bus coordinator, and we'll provide the resources to you. We're trying to expand our reservation for the 5 buses we have. Now those, based on the price that's been quoted for us, we've arrived at a ticket price of $60 per ticket. The actual direct cost works to be about $48 per ticket, but we're going at $60 per ticket to give us a little cushion for a couple of reasons. One thing we want to do is sponsor young people, seniors, veterans who cannot afford a ticket, so that if we have some additional revenue, we'll be able to sponsor them. And obviously incidentals such as water, things of that nature, we want every bus to have a first aid kit, etc. So that's where that $60 comes in. So, and finally, also just to assist with the finances for the bus. So that's where we are. I've had the opportunity to attend a number of meetings in New York City at the Harlem State Office building. In fact, there's one going on this evening. Minister Hafiz is presiding over that, and I've had the opportunity to meet my counterparts from all the boroughs, Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Staten Island, Manhattan, and even parts of northern New Jersey and Rockland County. So every Thursday we meet there and get updates from national on where things stand. Before we release you this evening, we're going to give you some important website information and some important smartphone apps that you can download to get constant feedback and live real-time information on where things stand. So we're in the process of printing our tickets now for the 4 Mount Vernon and 1 White Plains bus, and we're in the process of working with Peekskill and in the other community at New Rochelle and getting additional buses. So that's the situation there. So this weekend, the 10-10-15 this year happens to fall on Columbus Day weekend. So we think that will aid in the logistics for some folks who want to go down but might have had a tighter time frame. So that's something that we're going to be working around as well. So there's been some discussion in New Rochelle and in White Plains about a rally. So I want you to think about that, something that you can do. We know here in White Plains there's a successful Juneteenth on an annual basis. There were a couple events during the course of the summer. I'd like you to think about something perhaps here as a rally. We certainly will be in full force and effect at Arts on 3rd, which is the annual arts and cultural festival in the city of Mount Vernon. Last year some 40,000 people flowed through during the course of the day. We have a booth. We're going to be there in force, and that's going to be to promote the event as a whole. We encourage all of you to participate in that, and we're trying to put together an event in New Rochelle as well. So that's where things stand at this point in time. So, so Brother Arthur, myself, Alan Ayers from Mount Vernon, who was a member of the original local organizing committee, and Bishop Collie Edwards are the 5 bus coordinators in Mount Vernon. Brother Walter Brown from the Remington Flyers fame in New Rochelle, and I'm not sure what Sonny's last name. Brother Sonny from New Rochelle are the coordinators there. Brother Steve Dillard is the coordinator in Peekskill. Jim Bostic, thank you, in Yonkers is the coordinator there. They've committed to 3 buses, and Brother Charles Morgan is the coordinator here in White Plains. So we're going to print up a flyer with everybody's name and distribute that county-wide. So no matter where you are in the county, you'll be able to know who to reach out to get buy tickets for your bus. But the time is on us now. October 10th is only about 45 days away. So that's the good news is that it's enough time to get done what we have to do. The bad news is that's only 45 days away. So so for $60, and when we ask you to please get the $60, and the next time you guys meet in White Plains, we're asking everybody to come with your money for yourself, for your spouse, your significant other, your family members, so that we can begin to reserve these buses. Because as we get closer to the date, the buses are going to disappear. And then what I mean by that is that they're going to get committed. Either that or the price of the bus is going to go up, where you're not going to be able to maintain that $60 a seat price. So we want to get deposits and lock your bus in as quickly as possible. So
and if I could, there's a groundswell of support around the nation. We just got a commitment today. I resent it out on Facebook, and I'm going to tweet it shortly. 100,000 bikers from the California area are going to do a 3-day drive. The fraternities, the sororities endorsed it. The gang members, in Chicago, the gang culture with the vice lords and the gangster disciples, they came together in truce. They come into the march. Young people, like 20 years ago, I was 30 years old, but there were people who were 12 and under who heard about the march and cannot wait to come. The minister has been on tour. He's been in Milwaukee. He's been in Miami. He was in Detroit last night. He's in Chicago. He was in Los Angeles. He started the tour off in D.C., Philadelphia. I think there might be another rally in New York before the march. But I want you to know that the Black America is invigorating. One thing that is different this time that we did not have, that we had last time that we don't have now, nor would we depend on that, is the press. The press is running Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. And so the press used to try to get enemies of our unity to make a statement why we shouldn't go and support Minister Farrakhan in the march. But on social media, if you have any presence at all, you will see that Minister Farrakhan has been a trending topic throughout the last year. It started with a message that he did. I don't know if you heard the Breakfast Club interview. The Breakfast Club on Power 105, Charlemagne and God, the #1 radio station in New York. They interviewed the minister for 1 hour and 20 minutes, and that trended on Twitter for 2 weeks. Now, if you know anything about, trending on social media, it's normally foolishness, and it's normally something 2 minutes or less. But to have an hour's worth of wisdom and spirituality and guidance trend on social media, mostly by young people, that's big. The minister met in Atlanta. Right now, Atlanta is the home of hip hop. He met with all of the rappers from Rick Ross and all the way down, and they started retweeting and tweeting. So I'm telling you that this is big. And you may not have heard it because CNN may be the #1 source for news. LowHUD.com may be the source for news. But I'm telling you, this is big. So the fact that you're here, that means that you're on the ground. And then you have to utilize your influence so that we can be a part of this. So I'm going to play some short videos. They're on our website, which is Justice or Else.
All of the nations of the earth as we speak. They're angry because governments cannot suffice the needs of their people. They're angry because a few have gotten wealthy at the expense of the many. And the poor and the sick and the weak and the unlearned multiply. And the value of their lives are diminished by the rich and the powerful, so that when human life is devalued, that in the eyes of man you are unworthy of the gift of life, then it is easy for another human being to take the life of another human being that he or she has devalued. Black life in America is devalued. Hispanic life is devalued. Even poor white life is devalued. There's a way that I have to behave. I'm free, but I'm not free to rob you of yours. I'm not free to take from you what does not belong to me. So if I will construct my life according to these righteous principles, then between man and man, man and woman, peace. Between race and race, peace. Between rich and poor, peace. We have our beautiful Mexican family. This once was theirs. So you can't say to them they are aliens. That's a horrible word to use for former owners. I see my indigenous family here. Many tribes, but they're really one great nation of people that now must be reunited with themselves. So it's their time now, as well as ours, that God would intervene in our affairs and bring the bottom rail to the top. The government is not rehabilitating soldiers. When they send you away to kill. When you come home, they gotta reconstitute you for civilian life again. Make sure you have a job so you can take care of your family, but they're not doing it. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says a woman can do anything that a man does, and the only thing he forbids the woman to do is the thing that degrades her. So how high can you go? High as you want to. Why would God allow the female to wear his attributes if you can't be a manifestation of that attribute? Women, you got to be set free. What God has put within you must be cultivated, must be developed, and must be used for the advancement of a nation and a world. I said to myself, Mr. President, why the hell don't you go to the wicked police department? Why the hell don't you stand up and tell them that your killing of black youth and brown youth is not gonna hold no more? Why don't you stand up? God's world is in need of a truth that will set up a government where everybody can live in peace under real freedom, real justice, and real equality.
to say about the march, brothers and sisters, is that the first 20 years ago, the march was about reconciliation, responsibility, atonement, being better brothers, being better fathers, being better husbands. And black men resonated around that theme. This year, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan desires to make a demand on government, a demand for justice, something that we were promised that would be ensured to us after the passing of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. But when there's no reinforcement, when there's no monitoring, then of course our rights can be violated, and then it's just a court option to pursue. But we see with the pervasive police attacks against our people because of social media, because, you know, these cell phones that we have, all of them come with cameras. Years ago, we witnessed, and our statements were thrown out of court. And so we have evidence, if you will, of the police brutality, enough so that it's on the news all the time. And if the news doesn't carry it, it's on social media. And if you get enough hits, it seems that the news media is chasing social media to get the the story. So as a result, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan felt inspired by God to make the call for justice or else. So it is a demand. So many people ask, what is the or else about? Because or else implies an inherent threat. Or else implies that there's something beyond the demand. And so to ease your mind, the minister, as responsible as he is not going to cause any harm or danger for anyone who stands with him on that day. However, he did call for fearless men and women who are willing to stand, because, brothers and sisters, in truth, we only have one life to live. True, true?
Right.
True, true.
That's right.
True. And we only have one life to give. And if we're going to live our life, we should live that life in accordance with the principles of God, freedom, justice, and equality. And if we did give our life, it would be best to give our life for a righteous cause. For instance, if I saw that police officer beating up that young little sister in her bathing top with his knee in her back and she's screaming and telling him that she's hurt, to me, that's something to die for. Because if you do not stand up like a man and like a true woman, and you just watch abuse after abuse after abuse, we co-sign the permission for them to continue to do what they do. However, this march is two-pronged. Not only are we demanding justice, but we must speak to what we do to each other. For it is very difficult to ask anyone to respect us when we demonstrate on a daily basis, probably more than the police kill us, the great disrespect that we have towards each other, with fratricidal conflict, with drug play, with domestic violence in the home. We have to also that day make a demand on us, and then we have to figure out a way that we elders connect with our young people so that the disconnect is not so wide, so that when we address it, we know who to go to. And lastly, in this regard, one of the things that the or else is, and the minister did not want to tip his hand and tip his speech in advance, but one of the things that the minister is calling for is a boycott of Christmas shopping this year to show our economic prowess. If the truth be told, Santa Claus is the leading figure of Christmas for the masses of our people, unfortunately. Unfortunately, Christ has been moved aside and has been replaced by a fat white man who does not exist from the North Pole. Right. And so the Christmas season is really not the Christmas celebration season. It's really a Christmas shopping season. And that starts no quicker than you can digest the turkey from Thanksgiving. Can I get a witness? And it is almost a religious activity to get a good afternoon sleep and wake up at midnight and begin to go to the mall of your choice and shop until you drop. They have something called doorbuster sales. Mm-hmm. Is that right? Mm-hmm. We should call them jawbuster sales, because the things that people do just to get a deal in the name of Jesus, in the name of Christ. And so since they sing, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, let this year just be a white Christmas. Let white folks buy. Right. Let the black man hold his $1 trillion gross national product. If we were a nation, we would be the 13th or 14th richest nation in the world. Let us withdraw our spending, and so that we could redistribute the pain, because that's one thing. Bottom line is something that white folks and people in government and the business sector, who I would say controls government to a degree, that's something that they respect. But it'll be our first opportunity to show a mass show of unity. And to my elders here, you remember we used to have something called Black Solidarity Day. And in Black Solidarity Day, it was a date in November, but it was our day that we didn't shop with anybody that didn't look like us. We didn't go to school that day. We were unified as a community. And that has just went into the past. So if not now, when? And if not now, us, then who? Now let me try to get this video.
I must confess that that dream that I had that day has at many points turned into a nightmare. Now, the other thing that we've got to come to see now that many of us didn't see too well during the last 10 years, that is that racism
not guilty
is still alive in American society and much more widespread.
Broke his neck after Baltimore police.
A handful of protesters, a handful of criminals and thugs who...
Many in moments of anger, many in moments of deep bitterness, engage in riots. And as long as America postpones justice, we stand in the position of having these recurrences of violence and riots over and over again. Social justice and progress are the absolute guarantors of riot prevention.
Mr. Gray's death was a homicide.
The Negro was freed from the bondage of physical slavery.
The athletes marched onto a stage.
But at the same time, the nation refused to give him land to make that freedom meaningful. Freedom without land to cultivate. Freedom and famine at the same time.
And create jobs for our people.
The Negro is to be free. He must move down into the inner resources of his own soul and sign with a pen and ink of self-assertive manhood his own Emancipation Proclamation. But I want to get the language right tonight. I want to get the language so right that everybody here will cry out, yes, I'm black, I'm proud of it, I'm black and beautiful. Individually, we are poor when you compare us with white society in America. We are poor. Collectively, we are richer than all the nations in the world with the exception of 9. That's power right there if we know how to prove it. we began the process of building a greater economic base. And at the same time, we are putting pressure where it really hurts. We don't have to argue with anybody. We just need to go around to these stores and to these massive industries in our country. Say, God sent us by here to say to you that you're not treating his children right. We come by here to ask you to make the first item on your agenda fair treatment where God's children are concerned. Now, if you're not prepared to do that, we do have an agenda that we must follow. And our agenda calls for withdrawing economic support from you. We mean business now, and we are determined to gain our rightful place in God's world.
Let's give Minister Farrakhan a round of applause. So that's some of the promotional videos that you'll see on our website, Justice for Else. And I was told that the speech that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King did not do when he got assassinated in Memphis, I believe the minister will read excerpts from that speech, because we'll be able to see how he was kind of developing in the latter years of his life before he was assassinated. You know, he's defined mostly by "I have a dream," but you can even see in that speech how he was saying, let me get the language right, I'm black and I'm proud. Black is beautiful. He even said in that speech, as you heard, the audio was kind of choppy, that the dream, I'm afraid, has turned into a nightmare. And so we as conscious adults, conscious ones who are children of those who are in the struggle, we have to assess where we are. And again, you know, I don't believe that no one else could make this call at this time. And so White Plains is so important. You know, Brother Charles Morgan, you know, we initially had 5 buses leaving out of Mount Vernon. And we were very confident that we were going to catch the bus because we had precedence. But this man, the man that in front of a room full of Mount Vernon people, I need a bus for White Plains. And based on his call and the God that was in his call, right, we got to support and back our brother. But I will say this to you, brother. The optimism and exuberance that you shared in Mount Vernon, we need to see that turn into some concrete dollars as well, my brother. We got 10 seats over. Yeah, see, let's give that a round of applause.
The reason why I was so confident is because there are some brothers in White Plains that have been through the movement.
Why don't you turn and face everybody, brother?
There are some brothers in White Plains that have gone through the fire. They've gone through the fire. The White Plains ain't no joke. This is a very racist city and community here. And it's been that way before I was born. My father had to meet in a basement down the valley just to start a Democratic Party here in White Plains. Because there were Republicans back then. You couldn't get a job unless you was a Republican. So he went to Scarsdale, got a job at the sanitation department, first black to work for the village of Scarsdale as a sanitation worker. And over the last 35, 40 years that he was there, he brought 27 more black people to work there. So he's going through the fire, just like a lot of us in this room. They had to have, in order to get blacks on the fire department here, they had to go to court. And they hired blacks, but they had a unwritten rule. We'll hire them because we have to, but they'll never get a pension. So the very first black firefighter And Otis could attest to this, and I'd like for Otis to share his testimony, because he was one of the first firefighters. But the very first firefighter, rather than give him a pension, they said he stole some gas.
No.
Cigarettes? Cigarettes. Said he stole cigarettes. And they said either you quit or he fired. So that he wouldn't get his pension after I don't know how many years he was there. But you tell your story after the Million Man March. Because he went to persecution after the Million Man March.
Let's hear it, brother. That was going on even before the Million Man March. Well, I was dealing with conviction. After the Million Man March, they crashed down on me and said I stole $5 worth of gas. And I had to go to court and spend money. But that's how shit and this is I go back to Hubert Robinson. Similar things happen there. And the Talbot Open Society filed that lawsuit. A black never got a pension on the black. Number one, there wasn't that many. But the few they had was released. Never got a pension. And once we filed the suit, after the suit, we got more, and guys retired. But before that suit, no black men. Now, most of them was discouraged from being on the flight. George Washington, who was here, he went to take the test, and they told him to get out the room. He can't take the test. So, white Plains, I think white Plains.
Thank you for sharing. May I ask how many people here are not from White Plains? Please raise your hand. Now, of those who are not here from White Plains, how many of you know somebody from White Plains? Raise your hand. Now, I'm going to ask that tomorrow that we take down brother's number and direct them to him so that he can sell his bus out. And that's one of the beautiful things of having the Westchester Local Organizing Committee, because we're here to help each other. And so I know that I'm going to get you at least 3 tickets sold. Now, I'm going to give you a phone number of somebody that has 3 people that were interested in going from this White Plains area. But if you would make a call, a prep call, then give them this number, because I believe that as the time is, and I believe there's going to be a few more things that's going to happen in the news that's going to still wake people up. I watched the tragedy of the 2 news people that got shot, but I'm watching the news, the national news put their spin on it, because it hit them, because they're journalists, and I'm watching them put their spin on it, and I'm just keeping my antennas up, because when it appears that they seem to be more sympathetic when one of their own kills that has mental health issues, and they seem not to call that person by horrific names. But when one of ours, no matter what their mental status or the depravity of mind that they have, they really, really vilify. And I'm looking at this, and this is not to condone evil at all, because evil and the killing of innocent life has no place in humanity. But I'm just looking at the way it's spent, So I'm just saying, let's help White Plains.
Yeah, thank you. And we also want to work with our brothers in Peekskill as well. So the priority right now is printing the tickets so that we can get the tickets into the hands, and printing the flyer so that we can get that distributed, so that everybody in every community knows where they're going. So we need to give some thought as to the phone number that you can put out that we can print publicly on the flyer. Likewise, Steve and Peekskill as well. So that's the priority.
No justice, no peace, take it to the streets. Modern day MOK, turn the right cheek. They want to oppress with violence, they protest. We get no rest and come with peaceful protest. No justice, no peace, take it to the streets. Modern day MOK, turn the right cheek. They want to oppressed with violence, they protest. We get no rest and come with peaceful protest.
Doors open and felt the fireman's hose. I heard screams and moans cried across the globe. And the constant struggle still when I swing blows. Waiting for sweet chariot to come swing low. I'm with the million men marching, my party is freedom. Political prisoner, they tried to kill me like Maria. Demanded I'm silenced because we're